Hello YouTubers, Toby Till here with Rocky Mountain Snow MX. We are here to provide you with all of your snow bike related technical videos and also any parts or accessories you may need for your snow bike. Feel free to give us a call. 720-263-7533. So now we're coming to handlebars. These are C3 heated handlebars. They have an inlet port, an outlet port. I always like to plumb the coolant going in from the thermostat, which is the hottest, to come in, go to the throttle side, and then go over to the non-throttle side because you have a little bit more insulation on the throttle side. So I always want the hottest water to go to the throttle side first and then grip side second. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and plumb this thing so that the quarter turn valve is here and the 90-degree valve is here. Even though C3 sends these, that's how you got to get used to the tracking. You just took my tracking away. My camera followed you when you walked in front of me. We're all getting used to high technology. So even though C3 sends all these fittings with some amount of pipe dope on them, I always like to take a little bit more Teflon thread tape and wrap my fittings. So I'll do 2 or 3 wraps of thread tape on my fittings before install. Of course, you use the ball valve on one side, and you're going to use the 90-degree on the front side. I put the ball valve, of course, on the right side. And I'll go ahead and just install these. The 90-degree side, you just want to make sure and tighten it up. I need a 14 mil also tie. Yep. You want to tighten these up. This fitting rotates, so it doesn't matter where it ends up. You just take it to where your thread engagement for 1/8 inch pipe thread is solid. On the valve side, it does matter, right? Because it is angled. We are going to end up with the valve side like this, okay? At about a 45-degree angle to the bars. So we don't want to over tighten and mess up our threads, but we definitely don't want to go too far. So right there is where I settle. That should be perfect once it's in the bars. Now, here's where everybody always has a problem with C3 stuff. They put the bars on, they try to jam the fittings in. As they put the hose in, they get the fitting incorrectly aligned with the hose and they cut the O-ring. Well, we learned all those lessons, so we don't do that. What we do is we actually install everything with it off the bike. That way we can get a dead set, absolute straight shot in on the fittings, and we never cut an O-ring. We haven't cut an O-ring in years and years and years because we do it this way. So what Ty's doing right now is he is marking the depth that the hose needs to go into the fitting. So we've made up just a sample piece, right? That shows we've put this in a fitting, we've taken it back out. When it was in the fitting, we've marked the depth. So what we're doing here is we just take our sample piece, right? We know how far it needs to go into the fitting. We're going to line this up. We're going to mark the new C3 hose with our marker, and that's our depth indicator. So once we get this in the hose, we'll be able to tell if we're fully seated. Now, before we even attempt, we're going to take the O-ring lube. We're going to put a generous amount of O-ring lube on. Okay, nice little bead. We want it over the top, over the sides. You see how generous we were with our lube? Now, it's always best to do the solid fitting first. That way you get the feel of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to perfectly align the hose with the fitting. And I put it in. And I just kind of rub it around a little bit, right? Twist it around, get the lube all over the shark bite. Then I'll go ahead and push it into the shark bite, just with a round kind of wiggle. And you see it drop? Now we are sitting below the shark bite, but above the O-ring. And this is the critical spot, right? This is where you cut the O-ring. So once again, roll around, wiggle a little bit, and apply a small amount of straight pressure. And did you see it drop? Now you see our indicating mark is at the top of the fitting. We are through the shark bite, we're through the O-ring, we're completely seated in, we can push, it won't go any further. We can also pull back out and it won't come back out. That's exactly how you do it. Now, unfortunately, we marked the wrong end of this, and this is our cut end. I always make the cut end over here. So we actually have to redo this and do it on the short end, which is here. Yes. All right, never mind. We're going to delete all. Let me get that pin real quick. All right, so here's what we have. We have just a sample piece that we've labeled, we've inserted into a fitting, marked the proper depth, and now we just use this to transfer over to our real hoses that we use. When we go into the handlebars, we use the short end, not the cut end. So we're going to mark the short end at exactly the same point. That's going to be our full penetration depth into the fitting. We're going to take the O-ring lube, put a nice generous amount of O-ring lube onto the hose, over the top and around the sides. You see how I've got a lot of O-ring lube on here? The first one that you always do so you can get used to it is the fitting that doesn't move, right? This is going to be your easiest fitting to put this into. It's super simple. You're just going to take your line, push it in until it barely stops. Don't force, just push it in. Rotate it around, work it a little bit, then apply a very small amount of pressure and you see it dropped. That's through the shark bite now. Now you're through the shark bite and you're up against the O-ring. You're going to do the same thing for the O-ring. Rotate it, wiggle it, then apply a small amount of pressure. Find where the hose goes through the O-ring. You want the hose and the fitting to be perfectly straight, and you see how it dropped into the O-ring. Now, you see how my mark line is right at the top of the fitting. That means I'm fully engaged, not only in the shark bite, but also in the fitting. You can push in it super hard and it's bottomed out, it won't go in here. You can also pull out and it shouldn't come out. So we're going to try that again. There we go. We're going to set the shark bite by pulling out on this collar, and then we're going to pull out, and it shouldn't come out at all, right? So we're good. It won't come out. Life is good. All right. So now that's how you fully install it. You see how I was always straight? You see how I didn't try to have this all on the bike and my hose being at a weird angle trying to get it in. It was straight. It went in super easy. I did not cut an O-ring. That's the big ticket with the C3 hoses and how you don't have any problems. A lot of guys will take this, set the bars in, and try to wiggle these in, cut O-rings all the time. That's why these are infamous for not seating well. All right, so now we're just going to do the exact same thing here, right? Here's our swivel fitting. It's a little bit more difficult because it moves around. So I'm going to hold it, hold the bars, put my hose in, rest it on the shark bite, turn it, wiggle it. Lightly wiggle it through the shark bite. You see the drop? Now, we're up against the O-ring. Turn it, wiggle it, lube up the O-ring. Here goes the second drop into the O-ring. There we go. There's our second drop into the O-ring. See how it's not a great science, right? But if you take your time and don't force, you won't cut the O-ring. So now it's fully in. I can press it all the way in. I'm going to pull the collar out, set my shark bite, pull on the hose, make sure it doesn't come out. Done. Okay? So that's how we install our lines into the bars. Now, you ask, why do I do this? Well, because it makes it really easy when I go to install them on the bike. So when I install them on the bike, I put them through the riser. Same thing on the other side, through the riser, pull them down, set the bars. Now, there's your C3 handlebar installed. We're going to route these lines later when we go down to the thermostat. We'll talk about all that. But this is how you do your bars. This is how you seat your fittings. Use your hoses so that you don't cut O-rings and don't have to take this back apart later.
Hello YouTubers, Toby Till here with Rocky Mountain Snow MX. We are here to provide you with all of your snow bike related technical videos and also any parts or accessories you may need for your snow bike. Feel free to give us a call, 720-263-7533.